Is the Big East still a power conference? You're on Big East Energy Weekly. Welcome into the program. Well, we don't want that bit. What are we doing here? There we go. Welcome into the program. I'm Mark Sennetto. This is Casey Matthews on Big East Energy Network. This is the weekly show. Check us out on bigenergymediapods.com. That's the landing page for all the shows. We got Casey's Roll Jays. You got My Hoots Cap, Roosevelt Jones's Doghouse, which has another interesting guest coming on tomorrow. The whole gamut. St. John's. You guys know the deal, right? Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, like, subscribe, all that stuff is free. We appreciate all the support as we are growing daily. This is a topic that was brought up, Casey, on the interwebs the other day. I think it was like earlier this week, and I wanted to touch on it because I didn't talk to you about it. I didn't get your feelings on it. We've been busy doing a bunch of stuff, and I think it was Alan Ray who we kind of are working with a little bit on some other stuff. And former Villanova player, played in the NBA for I think a couple seasons. So he's intimately aware of the Big East and what it was and what it is now. And he just said, I think he responded to what's a hard truth that you had to come to realization. And he said, and his comment was that the Big East Conference is no longer a power conference. Do you agree with that statement in its totality, like parts of it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I understand it. I guess I'd have to separate. I mean, I just think context is everything here, right? And if you just look at it as a conference and everything that it contains, I understand the argument that it's not a power conference, but that argument it starts and ends with the fact that football in the Big East is not the same. Because it's only UConn,
right.
Butler, I think is like,
Georgetown, Villanova, they play, but it's not.
But it's nobody even knows. I mean, I'm a Big East guy. I don't even know they have teams. So, right. So their football is not at the same level as those power leagues. So I understand that saying, yeah, it's not a power conference. And I can agree with that. When you look at it from a basketball perspective, and I don't think Alan was making this argument at all, because how could you? It 100% is a power league. And I think that's probably how I'm looking at it is I don't care, honestly, but what's like power conference versus power league to me, I look at it like that. Like the basketball league in the Big East, without question, is a power league. Is the football? No, but I still think, I guess, I don't know what I'm kind of talking in circles now. But if you separate the basketball out, I don't see how anybody could say it's not.
Yeah, but I think that's classic, Twitter world where like you hear something and like you think about it and you go, well, that's not true, and you get all pissed off, and then you rage tweet A. Ray and others who agree with him. That to your point, it's you can't put everything kind of in a silo, right? It's all these conferences are doing different things, right? The SEC is the predominantly, or Big Ten is the predominantly big football conferences in college athletics. But, there's still really good football in the Big 12. There's still really good football in the ACC. My UConn team up in Stores is getting ready to have they're predicted to win 9-10 games this year as an independent. So, I think there's some good football outside of the power conferences. But I also think you have to separate that. And I think to his point is the playing field, and maybe that'll change with how settlement and rev share in NIL. But to his point, it's like the power conferences dominate the bids. They dominate the coverage on ESPN and other things. And I think that has to all be in consideration. And I think so. I understand what he's saying, and also like we got 5 teams in last year. You got Xavier in by the skin of its teeth. You had Creighton, you had St. John's, UConn, and who am I missing? I think we had one more. I can't think it off the top of my head. But nobody went past the round of 32 as well. So I think that was his point too, is that like even though UConn won 2 of the last 3 tournaments, UConn is not the whole league. I mean, it's, when you have a dominant team, like Duke is not all the ACC, right? So like, I think that was his point. It's like, there isn't the way it used to be where there's like 10 teams ranked in the Big East, and like it's a gauntlet to do the Big East tournament because like there was like 16 teams because there was football involved.
Yeah, I don't think I would take the tournament though and use that, only because it's such a weird deal. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that Virginia as a 1 seed lost to a 16. So the tournament is crazy. So like I wouldn't take it there. Where I have the issue is when you start talking about basketball and you go on, whether it's ESPN or other. I mean, I guess we're talking heads too, but like others talking heads can start talking about it. Like, oh well, the P4. Like, right. No. If we're talking hoops, you're including the Big East, because
I agree with that.
You can't. To me, I mean, yes, Duke is a phenomenal program. There's so much history with Carolina, right? But keep going in the ACC and find me and make the case for me that the ACC is as good of a basketball league as the Big East. You can't. And beyond that, when you look at their football, and I am actually a Florida State football fan, besides Clemson, and Florida State, I mean, is there another ACC football team that you're like, yeah, man, we're a dominant football program? I think you could start to pick all that stuff apart if you really wanted to and say, is the ACC a power conference? I mean, if you're only a power conference because of your history, then the Big East is still a power conference.
1,000%.
So, and then when you look at it from the ACC perspective, I'm just singling that out. They have elite programs. There is no question about that in every sport. But as a whole, it's not as good as it was. And the SEC and the Big Ten are the only two leagues that can still claim that it's good or as good or better. Even the Big 12, I think would have a hard time making that case that it's, I still obviously consider it power conference, all those things, but it can be top heavy, in some years. So it's a fun one of those little arguments to get into. But my only issue is when you start talking hoops, it's like, well, the P4. Now with basketball, it's the Power 5. And
who found that out really quickly on Twitter that he's got it when he's talking about the P4 when he's talking basketball, and he doesn't do it very often. Is who I had on my show to talk about the House settlement is Ross Dellinger. When he did his first interview, his first article on Yahoo of the year about like the House settlement and like how it's going to affect, and there were some of the quotes from the Big East and like how they're going to have the advantage in basketball because of the no football, and because he made the mistake of, this is just a writer doing this, of putting the Big East in with mid majors of like having more money than the SEC than the Big Ten to spend on basketball, and the people that descended on his page, the Big East doesn't play, and I think that's the one takeaway that I took from this stupid Twitter fight was that no matter the topic, Big East fans unite as one to protect the brand of the Big East. And that I appreciate, because it's the reason why we've grown so quickly. And it's also the reason why I love hoops. And I said it on the spaces we did, and I think people maybe are going to think I'm full of shit, but like I root for other Big East schools when UConn doesn't win it all. Like, I was rooting for Creighton to beat Auburn, I was not rooting against St. John's against Arkansas. You know what I mean? Like, so I want the conference to do well. And because that's actually, you mentioned the ACC. I lived down in ACC country. If you listen to the radio, you'd think the ACC was the best basketball conference in the country and partly because over the last few years in the tournament where it matters, they've had teams that have made it to the Sweet 16. Like Clemson made a surprise run to the Elite Eight or either Elite Eight a couple years ago. So they've had really good success. NC State making a surprise run to the Final Four a couple years ago. So and that got what's his name an extra year when I have a story on that. Keats was literally he lost in the game against Virginia where they won at the buzzer in the ACC tournament. I know this is a sidebar. The AD, I don't know his name, at the time, had already picked a new coach. And it wasn't Will Wade, okay? That dude was looking at houses in Raleigh during that game. And when they won that game and ended up winning the tournament, they obviously had to be like, hey, man, we can't bring you in because you're going to the tournament now. Like, what do we do? They're the ACC champions. That's the best story of that season, that he was on his way out, and
the rumor was all the money was raised and everything. So it's
they had a guy. I'm not going to reveal who it was. I can maybe tell you off the air, but they were all in.
I had a buddy who's a big NC State guy, and he was texting. He was all fired up, and I said, "Well, careful what you wish for, man. You never know." So
that's right.
I think NC State fans are going to be pretty happy moving forward. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about our coaches debate. We had an internal coaching debate, and when Casey and I are going to respectfully talk about our differences of the coaching ranks in the Big East coming up after this. All right, we're back. All right, Casey, we did this internally. I think the 3-man weave guys put something out about ranking the top 11, and then Brian, who runs Pirate Vibes, dropped a bomb in our Slack channel and was like, hey, here's my list of top 11 team of coaches, and then we all started to kind of chime in. I think the argument stems from basically we're going with like I have Shaka ahead of Mac, and it's the Pitino versus Hurley conversation, correct? I'm not wrong, right?
Well, that's what we were talking about. Yeah.
So my top 5 was Hurley 1, Pitino 2, Shaka 3, Mac 4, and then I basically you could just say 4, and then it gets, when I have Brian Hammer on, same thing. It gets real squirrely between 5 and 11. You literally could go, hey, Thad Matta's had 2 Final Fours, so let's put him higher because he's had the history, but he hasn't done anything in a long time. Then you have Kevin Willard, who won a piece of a Big East championship with Seton Hall. Could you put him at 5? Like there's a lot of really good coaches, but kind of the point.
Mm-hmm.
And those 4 though are kind of like maybe like the sticking points. So what's your 4, and then we'll discuss.
Yeah, I mean 4, I'd have Shaka. I'd have Mac at 3. I'd have Hurley at 2 and Pitino at 1.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, look, it's again, you're absolutely splitting hairs. All 4 of those coaches are phenomenal. Like, nobody's saying they're not. So I don't think it's like a disrespect thing. I think it's more of like, hey, this is some fun to talk about. Who'd you pick? I don't understand how, and I just don't understand the Shaka Mac one. Pitino and Hurley, yep, I get it. Shaka Mac, to me, like, yeah, I don't get that one. I don't. I think over the history, like Mac's performance, his winning percentages, the what he's done with the teams he's had, to me, I just have to give him the edge there.
I think for me, what it comes down to, because I think it's the same way you feel about Shaka versus Mac is the same way I feel like you having Hurley at 2 is just mind blowing, and it has nothing to do with Pitino, because like we said, like there's so many good coaches in this league. I think Matt Janis on our team said it right. He's like, the real answer should be there is no wrong answer, but that's not how we do this, right? And I think the reason why you're kind of being so much on Mac is because it's hard because you were on his staff, like, and you saw it up close. You're really close to it, and that's not a wrong thing. I just think the reason why I put Shaka ahead of him is because look, he also does things in a different approach, and I think they're totally different styles of coaches. I think Mac is a better tactician. If you ask me, who do you want to draw up a play to win a game, Mac or Shaka? Do you think I'm going with Shaka? No, I'm going with Mac. But I'm also going with Shaka on, and this is subjective, but I also think culture-wise, I think he's built a culture around Marquette that's that's not second to none. It might be equal to others. And that doesn't always translate into wins. Like, I think that's a part of it too. And I think that's a difficult thing is like, in particular, when we talk about, like, my fan base talks about Hurley, well, we won 6 championships, and I get all that. Like, but Hurley hasn't. He's won 2. He's built a program at an incredible height, and I think sometimes those culture moments relate to championships, Final Fours, etc. And that's the big glaring thing that's missing from Mac's resume. He's done everything but get to a Final Four. And I made this argument kind of in his defense about the Calhoun argument. They're not the same. Calhoun went on to win 3 titles, and Mac's not going to be around long enough to win 3 titles. But can he win one before he goes? Maybe. I think the thing is, that's the thing that's missing from the resume, is like, you can still be a great coach and not get to the Final Four. But if you have someone in your conference that has made the Final Four and did so in kind of like one of these incredible runs, beating like a Kansas team that looked like they were unbeatable from the A10 and VCU, pretty incredible stuff.
But then if you're going to have that standard, if we were going to isolate out Big East, just the Big East years, and then you're saying that you would put Shaw ahead of Shaka, because Shaka's never made an Elite 8 with Marquette.
That's true. Made a couple Sweet 16s, so those can kind of cancel each other out.
Yeah. So, and again, I know that's just a Big East in a vacuum. That to me is my thing. Like, listen, I was actually at that time, okay, this is old me, when I was coaching, and I was a huge Shaka fan. Mm-hmm. I had the Havoc T-shirts. I coached actually at his summer camp. Loved Shaka.
Great dude.
Okay. Got a chance to be around him a little bit. If you go back and look at the staff he built, unreal. It's unbelievable, the staff that he had there. So I'm a Shaka guy in terms of, I have a lot of respect for him, like him. I just think then he goes to Texas. Didn't do great at Texas,
nope.
Right? And now he's at Marquette and built, something special there. I love what they're doing there. But in terms of NCAA tournament success in the Big East, yeah.
Because I want to go back to the Texas stuff, because that's brought up a lot. Who's done well at Texas? Who's won a title there? Nobody.
Which is crazy, because to me it's a great job. I think Chris Beard was on his way.
I think that gets overblown. Is it a good job?
I think it's a great job. Great job.
Who's at success there?
Chris Beard, and Beard was on his way to. Oh, dude, he was killing it.
Yeah, but he didn't.
But he would have. He would have. Listen, you got to be accountable for your actions. He did some stupid stuff, lost his job, but that program was on the up. And I'm just telling, the facilities, they just have a brand new arena. It's unreal. The money, they have so much money. It's in Austin, so it's international airports, a nice place to live. I'm telling you.
Who has a lot of money in sports? The Yankees. They don't win all the time.
I know that, but I'm saying in terms of being
in a long time.
Yeah, but it's still, if I'm going to give you a choice of, and we're fans, so we got to separate it. But if I list for you, here's the best jobs in Major League Baseball, the Yankees are going to be, if not number 1, they're going to be number 2. So, oh yeah, come on, Mark, come on.
I'm a Yankee fan. Listen, it's not, because you don't.
Where would you rather manage?
You don't get to do the things you want to do. You think Aaron Boone wants to manage through analytics? You think Aaron Boone, a lifetime, baseball player,
I wish Aaron Boone would manage
Kevin Williams 100 times when he keeps giving up home runs? Like, it's just
that's Aaron Boone though. First of all, Aaron Boone, I want Aaron Boone to be managing a little league team.
The Savannah Bananas. He should be going. Going into that.
Yeah, I'm done with Aaron, but I always appreciate the home run. That's about it. But in terms of going back to basketball, I'm just telling you, dude. Texas is a phenomenal job, and it's not the same job today as it was when Shaka's there. I will say that, but you and the wife need to go to Austin for a little vacation.
It's not about me. It's not about going to Austin. Like, I think Austin's a phenomenal city, and I think Texas is a great football job. It's been proven. They've been to the playoffs. They won a national title with Mac Brown. I just think when we talk about these, like, oh, that's a great job. It's like, yeah, you were in the coaching world, and like, to coaches, it's a great job because you make a lot of money and you have all these great facilities and a private jet and all this other stuff. But how is that work? I'll give you a Dr. Phil. How's that working out for you? It didn't. They haven't won anything.
You can say that. I know what you mean, but it's still, I'm telling you, Mark, it's a phenomenal job. And
I'll believe
somebody will break through. Chris was going to do it. Beard was going to do it. And then he screwed himself up. But it will be done there. I promise you it will be done there. But anyway, back to the Shaka thing. I still think you're making excuses for the guy. And again, it's fine. I know what you're saying. He had a great run at VCU. But I just think, like, when you're looking at it, like, it's not all like, what have you done for me lately? But listen, man, Mac's been to an Elite Eight, multiple Sweet 16s at a place like Creighton. Again, financially, like, Creighton doesn't have the same money that Marquette has. And I just really believe, like, and I'll go even further. This will be a hot take for you. You will hate this take.
Can't wait.
If I show up to a gym, or if I have just 5 basketball players and I have 24 hours to prepare for my opponent, who do I want coaching that team? I'm taking Greg McDermott over anybody in the league. Anybody. Now, if I have a season like a Hurley and Pitino where they're going to, the way they coach, man, it's intense. The story's a little bit different. But in terms, you said, like, tactician, the dude is unbelievable. Strategically, his preparation, he's unbelievable. And so I don't know. This is a little hot take, free hot take for you to do with it what you want. But I'm still, I will go to my deathbed on this one. If I'm ranking these, I just don't see how anybody can rank Shaka ahead of Mac. I don't. But
yeah, that's a hot take. I think you could do that with a lot of coaches. Coach McDermott, I don't know him enough to kind of put him in that. If 24 hours, I have 5 basketball players, I need to get them ready. There's, that's kind of like that's a vague example, right? It's like one of those, like, okay, who are we playing? Are we playing an up-tempo team? Are we playing you know what I mean? Like, there's other factors involved with that. But I don't know if you can just kind of blanketly, and that, listen, you work for him. I respect your opinion. But if I'm just literally drawing up a play to maybe save my life, I might go Mike Young, who used to be at Wofford and is at Virginia Tech, because he's just like an offensive guru. But I'm
just talking Big East.
But okay, Big East. I mean, kind of hard to not pick Dan. Like in a one and done situation.
This has to be a separate conversation, because we could talk about this for a long time. And you know how I feel about Coach Hurley.
I know you do. I know you're not.
No. Love the guy. I'm just saying, in terms of like from a strategic, here's why Hurley is so special, is because the way he coaches. We talked about this before with, like, freshmen.
Yep.
How it's hard for freshmen to get on the floor, right? Because he's so demanding from the time that you get there till the time you leave. He's demanding your best day in and day out. And it takes time for those kids to understand that he's demanding their best, not for him, but for them. And when it clicks and they go, okay, I get it now, that's when what you get is the effort on the floor that he gets from his players. And you can name so many UConn guys that have played for Hurley that would run through a brick wall for the guy, almost everybody. But it takes time to build that trust and that relationship. But what you get in return is effort, like nobody else.
In the scenario that you're, and I get that. In the scenario you're pointing to, which is like, you have 24 hours and you have one coach. The reason why I don't go Mac and the reason why I go Hurley is because they're both similar in the respect of they have offensive systems. They have things that they incorporate into their team that takes time to develop. But if you're just talking about guys that can will a win, based off of their kind of tenacity, based off of their kind of looking over at the coach and like he's in your corner, I got to go Hurley, and I'm probably gonna go Pitino over Mac in that scenario.
Yeah, but I think what I'm saying though is that Hurley and Pitino need time. I don't think Mac needs the time because I think from
in
a
the
strategy
scenario you're
standpoint
painting of like there is no time. Like there is no time. So which coach is the most equipped? And I don't think Pitino and Hurley, if you gave them those set of parameters, are gonna like oh well now I can't do it. Like I can't.
No, I'm not saying you can't do it, but I'm saying like okay, look offensively. Look UConn offensively.
Okay.
Here's the knock on their offensive. Now they have great offensive numbers. They've had great offensive players. All those things. However, Mark, watch their offense and watch their actions. It is A, B, C. Their actions take forever. I remember scouting them and my head spinning because their actions take 20 seconds before they get to a shot. But why is it that Hurley's record against Mac is 9-3 or 10 the opposite 3-9 or 3-10? Because Mac strategically takes them out of their stuff. Do you remember what was the dude? God, I can't remember his name right now. Isaiah Whalen.
The wrench.
Right? Incredible ball screen defender. Okay. Like incredible. You did not want to set a ball screen if he was in it. Really good player. But if you go back and watch those games, how did Creighton play him? Didn't guard him. We didn't guard him. When he got the ball on the perimeter, we would fake at him. We wanted him to think like, oh, shoot, we're going to close out. No, we wanted him to shoot. Anyways, that's besides the point. The point is strategically, I'm telling you, in my opinion, Mac's the best. And it's about just looking at what they do and figuring out how to take advantage and take them out of it. Whereas to me, what makes Hurley and Pitino so great is I don't care what you want to do. You're going to do it my way. And I'm going to coach you day in and day out for 6 months so that on that night in April or in March,
right,
it's no question. You know what you're doing. To me, it just takes longer. It's a longer process to get there. So if I'm just picking 5 basketball players and putting them on a team and giving them a coach, I want Mac because to me it's, hey, we're going to draw up this action quick, go score. Here's what we're going to do defensively. And I think he's the best at that.
And that's fair. Like, but the thing I will say to you is that like over the last 2.5 years is really the only time Hurley has brought in this type of offensive system. Like pre 2021, when he first got to UConn, when he was at Rhode Island and Wagner and places like that dude was coaching like Shaka, like literally just getting as many athletes and defenders as possible, trying to run you out of the gym, defensive pressure, offensive rebounding, get up and down the floor if you can, and then shut people down, win a rock fight. That was the goal. Yeah. So I just think to kind of just say it based off of the way their offensive system is run now, because he brought in Luke Murray and because he's kind of evolved into like, hey, we need shooters. We need guys who can put the ball in the hole. And if there's one knock on UConn's offense last year is they just didn't have the talent to do the things that they wanted to do offensively. So they didn't have guys who could just do what you said, which is, hey, I just go get me a bucket. But they do now. And like, they've kind of hopefully fixed that. That's kind of the point. All right. Well, we could talk about that all day, but I really want to get your take as to why you think Pitino is ahead of Hurley.
That one to me is historically. And what I love about Pitino, and again, I love Hurley too. It's that to me, he's such a clear example of somebody who's been able to adapt with the times multiple times over, and to bring Providence to a Final Four, to bring Louisville to a Final Four. What was that? Like you got to think. I mean, with St. John's, I mean, this is going to be a year where hopefully for them they can get back. Like Kentucky, right? Like I'm really kind of separating the NBA stuff and then the international stuff because he was phenomenal overseas too. But he just wherever he goes, he wins and wins at a really high level, and it doesn't have to be the same way. And so that for me is why I would put him. I mean, again, it's 1A and 1B probably, but really it's 1 and 2. That's where I would have him there. I just think the longevity and his ability to change with the times and still win is really impressive. If I'm just isolating out 5 years, then by all means, but I don't know. That's why I rank it that way.
Yeah. I obviously put Hurley above. And honestly, if UConn only has, let's say they don't win back to back, let's say they just win the 1 year. Let's say the year, let's say they lost with Andre Jackson's team, Andre Jackson. I always do that between Hawk and Ajax. But the Klingons freshman year, let's say they didn't win that one, right? Make a nice run, they lose or whatever, and they just dominate in 23-24, and they have the one ring. I put Pitino ahead of him for that reason, and the reason why is not because of the back-to-back, but because of the weight I put on championships now versus in 2014 when he won the championship that was vacated, versus the 96, 97. I mean, just being honest, I'm not.
I know.
I
love it.
Be a jerk. Like that title doesn't exist. 96, 97. With Kentucky beating Syracuse in the final with Von Mercer and those guys. Tony Delk, that team was incredible. It also was an era of no NIL. Although probably Kentucky gets all those players anyway with NIL, but you get what I'm saying. Like they're going to have more competition if you could pay players in that world. There's different eras in college basketball. And this is why I don't think Bill Self needs to be ranked lower than like 2 or 3 in the college rankings right now, currently, because he's won a title recently in 2021 in an era that is probably antithetical to what he wants to do, as a coach. So adapting is a part of this. You're right. But it kind of comes back to, and I always say this, even as a Yankee fan, it's like manager records mean nothing because you get the resources that you need and you're going to win no matter what. So you're trying to tell me that if you took, an up and coming mid major coach right now and threw him on St. John's and said, "Hey man, you get a billionaire that's going to help you put together this roster," they're not going to be able to win? Come on now. Like, I love Pitino and I think he's a great roster builder. And I think he picks the right players. But when you got that cash, bro, like it's not very difficult to do. UConn's not even in the stratosphere of St. John's when it comes to NIL. They raise and they do what they need to do, but they are literally telling players, you come here to be better and to get to the pros, and you'll make some money. But the long term is you're going to sign a second contract in the NBA that's worth $100 million. It's not going to be NIL right now. That NIL is like third on their list when we're talking about bringing guys in.
Yeah, I mean, I get the argument. I do, and I think you obviously have to have money, and you got to be able to get the players. I've always kind of said this, so it's like you still got to coach them, and I think you still got to. I don't know. That's why I like Hurley the way I do, because I really love. I remember we were playing there. Gosh, it was how they play some of their games in Hartford, right? And which is dumb, but besides the point, I think it's crazy that the advantage they have in stores is unbelievable. But anyway, I remember talking to, who was it? It was one of their assistants before a game, and he was the one that was kind of breaking down the whole it's really hard for freshmen to play, and we were talking about Andre Jackson actually at that time, and how he was kind of at a place in the season where it was like just running his head into a brick wall, just wouldn't understand what it is they're trying to do. And they felt like once it clicked for him, he was going to become one of the all-time greats there. And I don't know if that was, realized or not, but he was still an unbelievable player.
Sure.
Anyway, that's one of the things that I like about it, is that like Hurley wasn't going to say, "Okay, Andre, fine, we'll do it your way." It was, "No, I am the head coach here. I'm running this program. You're going to do it my way, or you're not going to play." And I love that about him. I do. But as far as like the comparisons, again, I am going historical, and I do know what you're saying. But at the end of the day, you still got to win the games. And there's been a lot of great coaches, a lot of great programs with great teams that didn't win, and they're not on the all-time great lists. So True. I think I just got to credit Rick for that.
All right.
It's a fun argument.
Known Pitino lover, Casey Matthews.
I know everybody says, "Who do you not like?" Yeah, I got it. There's people, but I do love greatness, and we have some
great coaches, and that's also part of why the idea of the Big East, like in the decline, is just just doesn't make sense to me because you have coaches at every spot. Maybe at some point of their career a little bit less than others, but guys who care, guys who are going to literally do everything in their power to make sure their teams are good and competitive and winning. So with that, we have some sad news in the Big East. Not really, because he's still going to cover a little bit of it, more so for Fox and their college basketball coverage. John Fanta is going to NBC. And NBC does have a few Big East games, so I don't know. I'm pretty sure that we'll definitely get to see John Fanta calling Big East games this year. I know that he'll likely still be active on social media with like spaces that he does. We also know he just had a baby boy, right? So I think he's busy with that, and we wish him the best there. I love it. I know he's got his Cleveland Browns stuff probably rocking this coming Sunday or whenever football season starts. In like 10 days? So he's probably fired up for that. But it's a great opportunity for John. And I thought about this the other day. The opportunity for I don't know if it's Noah or Ian Eagle, the father son that literally are like incredible voices that are likely going to be able to work with John. I think that duo, I think it's Noah. So I think Noah Eagle and John doing a game, I think is going to be great because Noah did a lot of the NBC basketball coverage with Dwayne Wade. So I think that's going to be an incredible kind of for guys who are now in this industry in the digital media. I love that stuff. I think it's going to be a really cool partnership. I'm going to miss him on Fox because that's the majority of what UConn and other programs are on. But make sure you get your Peacock subscription and ready to go for college basketball. What are your thoughts?
Want to hear him. John and I are friends, and I think the world of that guy. And I'm bummed out from a Fox perspective because I did love to have him on the Fox games, and honestly, I've never really cared for the Peacock broadcasts of the Big East games.
Really?
I just didn't. I don't know. I just like the way Fox does it. So hopefully John will elevate that, and we'll any game he'll listen. I honestly, I've texted him this before. I've been flipping through the channels and hear his voice doing bowling, and sat there and been captivated by an hour's worth of bowling because John's calling it. Like there is nobody that brings the passion and the energy and like the authenticity that he does to whatever it is he's doing. Like if you watch him call bowling, you would walk away thinking this guy's got to be the biggest bowler.
No.
And so I love that about him. And yeah, absolutely crush it. Whatever he does, this is a great deal for him. But it's just the first, of what's sure to be many. I think we'll end up talking about him one day, like we talk about Raft and those guys. I think he is that high level. So, congrats, John. Best of luck to you, man.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I honestly, I don't know if I could say it any better. I think it's and honestly, I'm going to use a tweet. I'm sorry I put it up prematurely, and you were in the middle of a monologue there. But I put up this. I saw this tweet and from Jeff Goodman. Fox just lost John Fanta and added RG3. That's a rough day. I laughed. I thought that was an incredible tweet. For those of you who think like I'm in some kind of war with Goodman, I'm not. I obviously we have some differences of opinions, but that's life. I have differences of opinions with Casey. That doesn't mean I want to punch him.
Yeah, no, we like Jeff.
But no, I think what's funny is I think people laughed at this because they think I'm so anti him. I thought that was a great tweet. That's an elite tweet. You can't lose John Fanta and add RG3. Like that's just like trading a first round pick and getting a fifth rounder back. Like that's just not a or a seventh rounder or two 4s. Like it's just a weird in basketball. What is that loss for Fox in basketball terms from a college basketball perspective? From like all time basketball greats in the Big East. Like what would that loss? I have one for you, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, give me yours because I'm struggling with the analogy. So
this is no disrespect to the guy I'm going to name on this because it
better not be Creighton or Mac, or I'm coming through.
Oh no, it's not. It might. I could go Creighton on this and piss you off. I think that'd be kind of fun. I have to remember the name of the player before I piss you off about it. But it's literally like losing. It's like losing Kemba Walker, and then you replace him with Stephen Ashworth.
See, now why'd you do that? Like that's
to piss you off. It's funny.
Yeah, Steve, that's my guy. No, I mean, I think Stephen would tell you though.
That I'm right.
Kemba, yeah. No. That's
listen. The reason why Ashworth is so caught in my brain is because he destroyed UConn many a times. And listen, Stephen, if you want to come on our show and talk shit to me, please do it. You're a great guy. We love you, and you were a great player. But
hey, I got one for you then. It's like losing Cam Spencer and replacing him with Aiden Mahaney.
Ooh, that's rough, bro.
That's a good one. Hey, that's a good one.
It is. And that's the thing is I love Aiden. I think he's a good kid. Oh, man.
Yeah, but that's fair.
Because he's already 35, and I didn't figure that would bother him as much.
I love Cam Spencer, so,
Yeah, no, you're right. Look, it's one of those things where I just think for me, it's so hard to find guys like John, who's so authentic, who resonates. I don't know anybody who's just like, oh God, John Fanta's on. You know what I mean? Like every fan base has a guy who broadcasts a show, and they're like,
yeah,
John's not that. He just never is. Like, I can't think of anyone that I've ever thought, or maybe in spaces, people are crazy on that. But I've never heard anyone give a bad review of John Fanta. So best of luck.
Not just a bad review, but say a bad thing about the guy. Yeah, he is the best, and I'm telling you, hopefully we'll get to be around him a little bit. Together, he is exactly what you see in here. We went to a steakhouse here in Omaha last time he was in town, and if he looked at you and said this is the best meal I've ever had, which he just about did, I would have believed every word of it. Everything is what you see is what you get with John. He's the best. So he's gonna absolutely crush that, and we're gonna miss watching him on Fox.
Well, that's Casey Matthews. I'm Mark Sennetto. This is Big East Energy Weekly. Follow us, Big East Energy Network on YouTube. All of our podcasts, Roll Jays, Hoops Cap, the list goes on and on. But if you go to Big East Energy Network on YouTube, you can go to the podcast pages and playlists, and you see all of the different shows. If you're a Butler fan, go watch Rose's show. If you're a Johnny's fan of St. John's, go watch Jay's show. On and on. I could go all day. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow us on all of our social media. Make sure you stay abreast with all the stuff that we got going on, and we're gonna talk to you guys next week. Every week now, going into the season, you're gonna see a Big East Energy Weekly show on Wednesday. So we'll see you next week. Casey, have a good weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
See you. Peace.